Alright, what's good? This is Jaxler, and this is a tutorial video for the any % speedrun for Warden Melody of the Undergrowth, or as we like to just call it, Warden for short. There is a link to our community Discord in the description of the video if you're looking for more help and more direct questions, because sometimes that can be a little slow to reply to a YouTube comment. But that being said, let's just hop into it. Before we open the game, though, something that we do in the speedrun is cap our frame rate to make some of the tricks easier. So if you're on Windows, I'm just going to show you how to do that real quick because it's not like supported in game because it's an older gen Unity game. So what you can do is if you go into your search and type NVIDIA, you'll pull up NVIDIA control panel. If you don't have like a NVIDIA card or like this doesn't show up, I would Google some other way to cap your frame rate, but this was just the easiest way I found to do it. And then it'll pull up into this. So under 3D settings, if you click on the manage 3D settings and under the global settings tab, if you scroll down from the top, you'll find this setting called max frame rate. And what you do here is just click on the drop down, switch it on, and then switch it to 60 FPS. You could go to like 30 FPS if you want, but it gets pretty choppy there. So I just recommend 60. Hit apply. And then once it's done doing that, you can either minimize it or close out of it. I usually minimize out of it instead of just closing it because I'll want to play other games on higher frame rates. And that just sets it globally for all games because I haven't bothered to set up the EXE. But that's besides the point. I'm not going to be doing it here, but if you want to rebind controls, there is a menu that you can pull up to do that by running the game either through Steam or through itch or the EXE itself and holding down the Alt key. And it should pull down a menu. And if you click input, it will let you rebind your controls there, if that's something you need to do. But yeah, let's go ahead and boot up the game real quick, and we'll go ahead and get started with the tutorial. Sure, one sec. Cool. All right, so we're booted up into the game now. Yeah, so like I said, this is for the any % run itself, so if you're looking for some more like all bosses related stuff, just let me know and I can throw something together as well. Go into options real quick. Hold on, it's doing that thing to my resolution again, so let me fix that real quick. Cool. Make sure that you turn VSync on. Trust me. It will make things better. And then I recommend turning off blue and depth of field because I find it makes visibility a little bit easier. But yeah, that being said, other thing as well, this game's camera is like really sensitive, so I recommend turning it down. Like I have my look sensitivity super low. So that's something you could look at as well. But yeah, so for the speedrun, time is going to start at new story or when we press A. If you're on controller, I don't know what it is on keyboard, so you'll just have to translate to there. But yeah, there's no real difference between controller and keyboard for this game. It's complete preference. However, I play on controller, so that's what I'm going to be showing off. And that little sort of controller UI on the screen there is showing all my inputs in real time. So if you're having trouble understanding something, just take a look at that input and see how I'm timing my button presses or where I'm like moving with the camera and with the left stick in order to get an idea of things you can adjust to try to make tricks easier. In terms of splits, I just have, I don't have too many. You could, because the category is so short, you can get away with not even having any splits. Just make sure you have a timer and video proof when you submit to the leaderboards. But where I like to split, I have a split for the tutorial, getting the torch from the fire sanctuary, the sewers area, getting Madeira, the first character, doing the wrong warp segment, which I'll show you how to do, the mountains, and then just a final split itself for the final boss fight. Cool. So that out of the way, time would start on new story, but I'm not going to run the timer. But yeah, so you just press start your split, or start your timer as soon as you press A there. So the first two things I'm going to be showing you in the tutorial section are completely optional. They are like, cutscene type skips that make things a bit faster. But because you can't jump into the tutorial, they're a little bit tricky, but I will show you how to do them anyway. So by default, your sprint button is tied to L3 on the controller. Would definitely recommend rebinding this to something else. But essentially, whenever you're running around, you're pretty much always going to be one of sprinting. So whenever like you go from a standstill, you're going to want to hit like press down on the stick to activate the button press, and then hold forward. So like boom, kind of like one swift motion. And just getting used to doing that like consistently every time you touch ground is going to be really important. Just for optimizing your movement. It's not like super necessary for any skips, but for general movement, it's going to be really important. Okay. So that being said, go ahead and sprint straight into this cutscene here. You can even throw in a crouch slide if you want. Whenever you're running at full speed, pressing B will make you do a slide. And that can give you a little bit of extra speed as you go into cutscenes. That cutscene right there can be skipped with A, and then just mash Y through the rest of this dialogue. And so this is the first of the optional kind of tricks here. So you can just do this combat tutorial regularly, but you can skip this. And the way you would go about skipping it is sort of getting height, so you get on these rocks, and then running past and around these sort of wooden thorns. So the way that you do that is if you walk up onto this sword and onto the hilt, you get some height here, right? Then what you want to do is sort of so once you have like your camera aligned like this, kind of walk straight forward, and then as soon as you see yourself touch down on the rock, hold right. Well, you need a little more speed than that, so kind of like that, yeah. So I'll show you this a couple of times. Again, this is a little bit tricky, so I definitely recommend looking at how I do these examples with my input display in order to see how to adjust. Some might also find that doing it at full speed is a little bit easier, but I find for a lot of new people that just standing on top, and then if you start to slide off, just go back and try again. Yeah, with practice, this can become pretty consistent. It can just be a little bit annoying, so don't feel like you have to do this. It isn't like a major skip. It just saves about 10 to 15 seconds or so. Like that. And so then once you get to up like here, you can just walk over here and slash, and you'll fall off the rock and hit the vine here. And then just go ahead and crouch slide into this cutscene, and then you're good to go. All right, now this skip I actually do recommend learning because it's pretty free. So what you do is grab one of these rocks. Any one of them works. They're all the same. And you just go over to this little corner here and just set down the rock. Yeah, it's not gonna work. Yeah, so just like go right about here, set the rock down in front of you, and then if you put the rock down, in most spots, it will just let you stand on top of it. And as you can kind of see where I'm going with this, you walk on top of the rock, and then you just get onto these sort of rocky bits of geometry from out of bounds. Now, I mentioned crouch sliding a little bit earlier, so again, if you're running or sprinting at full speed, at like full momentum, and you hit the B button to crouch, you'll instead do a slide. Like that. And so what we want to do for this next part of the trick is get on this leftmost rock, and then we're going to do a running crouch slide at the bridge to hit a cutscene trigger. Like that. Now, if you don't get the distance and you miss the cutscene trigger, you'll land like in the river, but still have movement control. So just walk towards the bridge and you should hit the cutscene. But that trick's not super bad. Okay. So this is another optional early game trick. So you would just do this the normal casual way where you would talk to the sleepy friend, go to the spirit realm, come back, and then platform your way up here. But there's a pretty quick way of skipping this that's really cool. So I want to show you how to do it here. So this game has a kind of interesting... so the game has a built-in mechanic into it to keep you from infinitely jumping off of sloped surfaces to gain height. And what it'll do, so I'll give you an example. There's one of them on this guy's hand. Is if you're on something and starting to slip off of it, the game actually applies a force to your character in the opposite direction of the slope, or the way that the slope is sliding you off, right? So if I'm holding forward here, it'll start to like push me away. See how I almost get like magnetically pushed away by like same pull of magnets? See how I get kind of like slid off like that? And if I jump off of here, it actually carries the speed as well. So like if I like get kind of stuck on that edge and then jump, see how much distance I get? That's called a jank boost. So we call that weird behavior where the game is like propelling you away from surfaces jank. And jank boosting is where you take that force and add a jump to it to get extra distance and let you do platforming skips. So in order to skip this cutscene and this sleepy fella, what we're actually going to be doing is a jank boost from on top of his arm up to that ledge up there with those flowers up there. And so the easiest way to do that is you go up to the second tree stump, and then you jump onto the arm down here, and then just kind of hold in towards like the bottom of his jaw. So you're kind of just in this area right here. Now, yeah, okay. So then once you're here, you're going to hold up and to the right, and then jump. Make sure you hold down the jump button so you get maximum height. So if you jump and hold up and to the right, you see kind of dust particles appear, and I hear a noise, right? As soon as I get that visual audio cue, what I'm gonna do is immediately hold back and to the left on my control stick and jump in the opposite direction. So it should look like this. And you see how I get that giant boost of speed? So we're essentially going to be doing that and then sort of curving around that wall in order to get up there. So here's what that looks like. Like that. Okay? So generally speaking, just holding up back and to the left will get you there. But sometimes you might need to hold a little bit more left than back, depending on things like that. Yeah, so the big obstacle will be this wall. This wall will block you. So basically what I like to do is hold back into the left until I see that I've cleared it, and then hold left, and sort of just react to it. Additionally, if you don't want to jump up here, a slightly faster way of getting on top is you can jump up the hand and into the spot. So what that actually requires doing in most cases is a neutral input. So if you are experiencing the force of jank, and you let go of the control stick, it actually doesn't kick in as quickly. So you can actually use that to have a little bit more control. So if I jump at the hand and then let go, I don't slide as far, you see? So if I jump, let go, and then jump again, I can climb up here pretty easy as well. And you can do that from this stump as well if that's easier, or don't even worry about it and just use the second stump. Whatever's most interesting for you, or whatever you have the most comfort doing. But obviously doing it from below is a little bit faster movement-wise. So again, get into the spot, hold up and to the right, jump when you see the dust particle, back and to the left. Show it off one more time at full speed for you. Yeah, so if you're doing that initial jump up and to the right and you see yourself already getting pushed back, don't bother going for it. Just land on the ground, on solid ground on this arm, and it'll reset your, it'll reset the jank and stop it. Like that. Cool. And that's the skip. So once you've done that, or after you just done the casual way and gone through that crawl space down there, we're just going to head up the staircase here. So just follow where I'm going. And you can also do a crouch slide off of here in order to save some time in movement. I'll just mention this here. Whenever you fall off of a ledge, you eventually will just kind of go into free fall and lose all of your sprint speed. So what you can actually do to preserve some of that sprint speed is crouch slide off of edges, so that when you almost immediately land out of your crouching speed, and then you can just re-sprint and keep going from there. All right, so I'm going to show you another skip here, which I would argue is easier. It's another jank boost, but it's much easier than the one I just showed you. And I really recommend doing this because it will avoid a really annoying enemy fight later on. Because we'll be skipping this moat gate. And every moat gate is cumulative, like the amount that it costs is cumulative based on how many moat doors you've opened. And if you don't open this one, it'll mean that the moat gate to get into the main Forgotten Village is only 10 moats. And it saves a lot of time. And just also makes your life easier. Alright, so essentially how this trick works is there are 4 of these sort of emblems or like glyphs on this pillar, and there's an invisible ledge in the middle of the third one up here, and we can use that to do another jank boost. So what we're gonna do is jump from that ledge to the sort of rim of that circle around the door. And as soon as we land on that, it'll cancel out the jank effect, and we can just jump and get over the door. That easy. Okay? So it'll look something like this. Yep, just like that. Shoot you a couple more times. It's pretty straightforward. Generally, I like to look at it at like if this is like straightforward, I like to turn my camera like 45 degrees to the right, and then do the jump there. And then again, as soon as you land on that little like rim, you can immediately jump. You'll also notice that I input a sprint input as soon as I land on the red glyph in the middle there, or the third one from the bottom. That just makes the jump a little bit easier, but you don't have to do that as well. That's just a small little optimization I do. Cool. And then you should land on top of here. What you're going to want to do here is crouch slide and then keep holding down crouch. And so what that'll do is it'll actually cancel like the hard fall animation that you would take from falling at such a height. And then you immediately hit the button and you can crouch slide under it while it's still going up, and it makes you feel really, really cool. Alright, this next part's pretty easy. Just go to the left here, jump on this handrail, and then you can jump on this little sort of archway above the top. It's pretty straightforward platforming, and then you just jump back on the other side, and you're good to go. And go ahead and grab the torch. Cool, we're going to go ahead and run up to the left side of this lever. Generally, pulling a lever is going to be faster, but this is the only one I think we pull in any percent, so don't worry about it too much. So pull it from the left side, and then make your way into the next chamber. And so what we're going to be doing to skip these next couple of levers is actually jumping on ledges, like slight slopes on the sort of slope white part, marble part of this stone pillar to get across to the other side, like that. And so you can kind of just go back and forth and practice. It's pretty straightforward. This one's a little bit trickier, so what I like to do is stand on top of this unlit brazier and jump from there, and then I can pretty easily jump. You are going to get sort of propelled by that jank force I was talking about in the opposite direction. So you can mitigate that either by going a bit higher on it, on this first one, for example, so you just land on top of it. Or you can also hold like up and to the right after you land on the slope, and it'll keep you kind of going roughly in a straight line. Okay, so once we're done there, we want the sword. What you'll want to do is crouch slide into it so that you pick up it during the crouch slide, which skips the pickup animation. And then from there, you can actually do crouch slides through the vines instead of manually slashing them. Like that. Alright, going into this next chamber, you're actually going to see me pull the torch as I walk into the loading zone. And if I keep holding forward, I actually move a bit further into the chamber during like the fixed walking animation as the room loads in, which is a really nice little extra time saver that you can do pretty much anywhere. There's going to be two spots where we're not going to want to do it, and I'll point both of those out when we get there. But yeah, for this training dummy, just walk up to him and press X to attack, and then just press Y to get through all the text. And then for this next bit, you're just going to do 2 attack. You're going to target with the left trigger. And then you're going to do 1, 2 attacks. And then you don't do the third attack. You actually delay it a little bit so you don't do a full 3-hit combo. And it looks like this. 2, you wait, and then you do the third. And the reason why you do that delay is that when you do the full 3-hit combo, it'll actually go into slow-mo once you kill the training dummy. And you want to, like, if you do that sort of timing, you'll actually save some time there. So now, immediately what we're going to do is turn around and crouch slide at this wooden thing, and then press Y to pick up that hammer. And then you can turn around and sort of pick up that sword. Now, if you do this super quick, what you can actually do is the training dummy will probably be somewhere around right here. And I'll actually wait for him to come back so I can try and show this to you. But if you do it the movement quickly enough, the training dummy will be right around here. And so what you can actually do is sprint up to him and left target him. And if you get there quickly enough, your sword will actually like enter and exit him like multiple times and do multi-hits like this. Oh, I didn't quite get it. That's fine. But like once he's like in this position, just like run up to him, target, and start swinging. And then go ahead and pick up the second sword. Alright, so what I'm going to be doing for this third dummy is sprinting from the left side and immediately going for 2 attacks and then holding down crouch. Like this. 1, 2, crouch. 1, 2. And when you do that, you actually get 2 more hits in before he has the chance to hit you with his spin attack. Okay? So then I'll do another one of those torch walks where I pull out my torch walking into the loading zone, and that gives me a little bit of extra movement around that corner. Alright, so just go to the right here, and if you want, you can just, you don't even have to use these. You can actually just jump straight across these. For the second one, though, it's a little bit trickier. You have to make use of what's called coyote time. So if you look, I'm going to turn the camera so you can see this a little bit. You have a window after running off of a ledge before, like, the game is like, oh, you're in free fall and you can't jump anymore. And that kind of looks like this. See how I kind of, like, am running all the way off the ledge there and can still jump? What you want to do is sort of run off the ledge and then jump at that wall in order to clear it. You don't want to jump as soon as you get to the edge. You actually want to jump past the edge, like a significant distance, like a foot or 2. Yeah, see how far you can go with that? That's what you want to do. When you're starting this, to learn this jump, actually aim for the water grate here as well. Because if you miss the jump, you'll actually land on a physical hitbox there and can save yourself. So it's kind of like a trust fall sort of thing where you have to just sort of trust the game a little bit, but yeah, you can go like super duper low. I don't know if you saw that. But yeah. But if you're having trouble with that, just use these. And something you'll see with... Oh, I died. That's funny. Something you'll see with those little shimmy things and with ladders as well in this game is that jumping up them is going to be a little bit faster as well. So keep that in mind. Alright, so here's that movement at full speed. Just like that. Okay? Next, what we're going to do is, instead of doing this sort of block puzzle, we're actually going to be jumping on that barrel with the wooden club on it. Oh, you suck. We're going to be jumping on that barrel I was talking about with the wooden club on it to get the height that we need to get on top of that. And the key to getting it is you can actually just curl yourself around to the right, like that, and grab onto the vines there. And you're going to want to climb all the way to the top until you're sure that that flower enemy down there is not aggroed on you. Okay? And then fall back down here. Alright, so we're going to be setting up a glitch here called Infinite Sword Glitch, or ISG. Now, this is going to be... There's 2 steps to this trick. The first part is a little bit tricky, and this is the big reason why you want to make sure that your game is frame capped to 60 FPS. Because this requires us to press 2 buttons on the exact same frame. And if you don't have your frame rate capped, the timing for this will vary depending on how fast your game is running. So what I like to do is we're going to pull out the hammer just so we have it ready. And we're going to press the R3 button, which puts us into first person view, and jump at the same time. And that'll look like this. And so you see that I got the jump and then enter the third person like that. And so what that does is it lets us run around in first person, which is normally not intended. Okay? So the reason that we set this up is that for example, if I get close enough to the vines and then attack and then cancel, it allows us to like cancel or attack animation and then climb up the vine, which is what activates the glitch. So again, just sort of stand a little bit away from the vines and then you set it up by just pressing those 2 at the same time. Which is a little bit easier said than done, for sure. Then what you want to do is approach the vines so that you start climbing them. And you'll kind of see that I started climbing them by the fact that my weapon is sort of holstered to my left. Then what I do is I turn my camera, so if this is forward, turn it about 45 degrees to the right, so we're kind of at an angle to the vines, and then jump, and then face that direction. Okay? So essentially what we're trying to do with this is get as close to these vines as possible without actually climbing, because if you're facing the vines and you're that close, you'll actually just climb the vines, and we don't want to be climbing the vines, okay? So go ahead, climb the vines, jump off, and kind of angle yourself away. And once you're close enough to it, without being able to grab onto it, turn your camera back towards the vines. Once you got your camera set up, what you do is attack, and then immediately press B and hold forward. Like that. And so now you'll see that our hammer is glowing, which sets up the glitch. So if you see that your hammer is glowing, that means that you did it right. Okay? So let me do this the whole process one more time at full speed. So you can, if you want to practice this, you can just cancel ISG by just attacking with your weapon. That has the effect attached. Okay, so we're going to go R3 plus jump, like that. Go ahead and get close. Turn the camera, XB forward. And now you're on the vines with this glowing hammer, and you can climb up to the top. So what this glitch does is because we're canceling our attack animation part of the way through, the part of the weapon that like deals damage to enemies is never like disabled. So now we basically have like an infinitely damaging hammer attached attached to our character at all times. And so what's actually cool is if you holster the weapon and pull out a different one, it still works even when it's like dragging around at your left heel, which is really funny. So whenever you have this glitch active, there are a couple of things that can cause it to cancel. The most easy way to cancel it is just to attack with it, obviously, so don't do that. But other ways that you can lose it are by taking damage, which instantly cancels it. Switching characters, so that means in an optimal speedrun you actually do this trick twice, but you don't have to do it the second time. But yeah, it's not if you can do it once, you can do it twice. Is what I would say. So taking damage, don't do that while you have it in your main hand. If you have it in your offhand and you have a different weapon equipped and you take damage, it won't cancel the glitch. So that's actually something you can use to your advantage to make sure that you don't have to reset the glitch. Swapping characters will also just cancel it regardless, like I just said. And then hitting an enemy's shield will cancel it. But that won't come up until we get to mountains. Okay? So now that we have this glitch set up, you can either holster the weapon or keep it equipped. I'm actually going to show you how to do this with the weapon holstered. So I equip the sword, and then we pull the lever. And if you remember from a casual playthrough, there's a mudman that spawns in here as the mini-boss. And so the way to absolutely shred this guy's health bar is we're going to wiggle that infinitely damaging hitbox in and out of the enemy. Because the effect only reactivates every time the weapon enters and exits the enemy's hitbox. So whenever you have like the weapon equipped like this, where you're holding it in your right hand, you're going to want to wiggle left and right, kind of like this, and do like short jumps. If you have it holstered like this, you're going to kind of want to spin around in circles. Essentially trying to get the glowing hammer, to enter and exit the enemy as many times as we can. And I'm going to do it holstered, because that's I find it to be a little easier. And it can prevent softlocks from happening. So, here's what that looks like. Yep, so you just kind of wiggle around in front of them just like that in a circle. That's all you got to do. Then you can jump across the platform. I would very highly recommend grabbing that heart crystal. And then before we leave sewers, you want to do a crouch slide into this loading zone. You don't want to do a torch walk here. You want to get a running start, and then crouch slide into the loading zone like that, and then mash through the cutscene. What that does is set up a glitch. Just follow my movement here for a second. What that does is set up a glitched state called crouch storage. So even though we're walking around on foot, the game thinks that our character is the size of a crouching character. So even though we look normal, the game thinks we're about half height, which means that we can fit into spaces the game normally wouldn't allow us to. So like, for example, we can just scale this wall if we want to, which we normally couldn't, which is very, very funny. So yeah, if you haven't already, I would make sure that you equip your sword here, just in case. So from this moat door, going to the right, make sure you're sprinting, and we're gonna go to the river here. Now what you're gonna do is do a sprint jump into the river. It's gonna look like a leap of faith, but I swear this is really easy. You just jump, and then you can land in the river, and it won't kill you. And you can just jump out of the river, and you're on the other side. That's all you gotta do. So that's the easy part. Our goal now is to get into the forest to get Madeira, because once we have Madeira, we can go pretty much beat the game. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to make use of that crouch storage state that we have. So if you're having trouble doing these next couple of steps, make sure that you have crouch storage set up by crouch sliding into any loading zone. It works on any loading zone. Okay? So equip your hammer, so that's in your right hand. And the reason why is we want to make sure that our glowing active hitbox does not break that wheelbarrow, because we need the wheelbarrow here as a platform. So what I like to do is jump at the bottom, like if you imagine this as the wheelbarrow as a rectangle that's angled downward towards us. I jump at the bottom right corner of that rectangle and then immediately jump to the top right corner like this. Because whenever you jump and land like that, your hammer kind of like goes a little bit underneath you, especially if you're doing it like from a run. And that can actually break the wheelbarrow. So that's why I'm jumping immediately. Okay, 1, 2, and then we're right here. So once you get to this corner, you're gonna jump on top of the tree leaves on the door, and then get right up under the middle. So you're gonna see that our head's sticking through. This is only possible if you have crouch storage enabled. So if you're not getting in here, make sure you have crouch storage, because you probably don't. Okay, then you're gonna sort of walk a little bit until your head is unstuck from here, and then you can just jump over the door from there. So just tap until your head is unstuck, and then out and in. Obviously, you don't have to like take it super slow. You can like run out and in like that. But I think for a lot of people, it's easiest if they just sort of keep tapping until their head fully clears it. Kind of like that. You still might get a little bit stuck, so you might have to go back out and in. Disregard what I said. But yeah. Here, let me show you it at full speed, just so you can get an idea. Yeah, so you basically want to just walk out from under the roof, and then jump. And then jump back towards the top of the door. And then if you mess it up, that's totally okay. As long as you don't break the wheelbarrow, you can do this as many times as you like. And if you lose ISG, that's okay too. You don't necessarily need it. Now, what I'm going to do from here, actually, is as I walk off the ledge, equip one of my swords, like this. And then I can torch walk. And so what that does is it sort of, when you enter any kind of animation, such as equipping a weapon or pulling out a torch, you won't take any fall damage. And you can use that to speed up your movement there and make it a little more safe. But this section right here, we're just going to be running straight through. Yep, so there's another torch walk, and then we're gonna torch walks to the left. So as you come in through here, there's this little hill up and to the left. Now, before okay, actually, I'm gonna kill these mudmen real quick, just so they're not in my way. Cool. So there's another Nyona bit where you're supposed to light this campfire and go talk to Nyona, but you can skip this. This is optional. This is a bit of a trickier strat. So this is optional, so keep that in mind. But if you don't want to do this trick, just light it, talk to Nyona, this guy will disappear, and you just go through the normal casual way. All we're trying to do right now is get to Madeira. But I want to show you the skip here. So the way that this works is we're going to be jumping up this wooden log to get on top of this cliff, so we can start running out of bounds. And so what we actually have to do to get up there is make use of one of those neutral jumps. So if I jump at this tree trunk, it's going to start pushing me away from it, right? So I'll give you another example. It'll start kind of pushing me away from it. And so you can't kind of just get away with jumping up the side of it if you're perfect. And just jumping up top here. But what you kind of want to do to make it easier on yourself is one of those neutral input jumps like I was talking about. So if I jump and let go of the stick, I can actually get a little bit higher. Now you want to make sure you don't do the neutral input until you actually land. Yeah, like I said, this one's a little bit tricky. But the big key for getting height is jump as soon as you touch down on the log. That's like the big thing. I guess holding forward might actually be a little easier than the neutral jump. But if you're having trouble with just doing it holding forward, try the neutral jump thing. And if you don't get like the full height, that gets you on top of the log. Try jumping up to the cliff anyway, and sometimes you can just sort of like clip over it, kind of like that. I also find that going at a full sprint at the log on the initial jump is very helpful too. So, 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay. So, assuming you've got that all okay, I would just, if you're having trouble with that and you really are dead set on learning it, I would just rewind the footage at a slower speed and look at my how I time the inputs and the way that I angle my character as rough guides. That's kind of a trick that I've just learned to feel out. Yeah, that would be my best suggestion. So once you get up here, you're going to turn around to the right, and you're going to do one of those running jumps to get across this gap. And then go here. And we're going to do one of those fall damage cancels here. So I'm going to do it with a sword. So I'm going to walk off the edge, this edge to my right, and put away the sword at the same time. So that I just kind of fall down onto the ground. And we're going to go around the cliff here. Now right here, you can, if you're swag, you can actually run around the left side on the thing. But otherwise, just jump over him. And then right here, this is one of the ones where you don't want to do a torch cancel on. So just crouch slide into it and mash through the cutscene here. Alright, so if you've managed to hold on to ISG at this point, you can dispatch these flowers pretty quickly. So you can just jump, hold forward, and then hold right while it's holstered, and then you'll instantly murk that one. And then from here, what I like to do is go to the left of this campfire, and then crouch slide to land on this mushroom, so that I avoid some falling animations. And then we'll get this guy, so again, you're kind of just spinning around on him. Do another crouch slide. And then you can just run up to this guy and do the same thing. And now we're going to go pick up Madeira. Very, very important thing. Do not crouch slide into this thing with Madeira. It will cause bad things to happen. So just don't. And then as soon as Madeira starts to merge with you, you can start mashing A like right here, and it will start skipping the cutscene. So keep that in mind as well. Okay. Now that we have Madeira, we can start breaking the game really, really hard. Turn around, and we're going to make our way back towards the campfire. So we're going to go ahead, go up this slope. And you're going to notice that we don't really have a good way of getting back up there. This might actually be one of the hardest jumps that you'll have to learn for this category. You're going to do a sprint jump at this cliff edge, and as soon as you see that you make contact, you're going to have to input another jump. Like that. So you're going to get janked a little bit, but as long as you're holding forward and you time that jump right, honestly, like, the big thing that you have to keep in mind is that you need to hold down the jump button in order to maintain maximum height. And you need to run off, like, the tallest part of the rock there. So, like, a lot of times, if you're not, like, getting the jump, it's often because you're not getting the height, which means you're either, like, going too far to the left or too far to the right of sort of the tip of this rock. So yeah, you need to be doing a sprint jump and kind of run off the rock a little bit in order to get up here. This is a tough jump. I highly recommend practicing this. It looks very straightforward, but you're going to want to practice it, okay? Now, once you've gotten up here, equip your torch and light the bonfire. Now, what we're going to be doing here is a glitch called sleep storage. And so, normally you can only rest at a bonfire when you're standing close enough to it. And sleep, right? But if you hit the Y button to rest and then switch characters at a very specific frame timing, I believe it's a 1 frame timing, you can actually walk around with the dialogue trigger to sleep away from the campfire. So the timing for it is you want to press the right or left shoulder button a little bit after you press Y, just a tad after. So if you do the right button input too late, you'll sit down at the campfire like that. And if you do it too early, here's what'll happen is, oh, I actually got it. I'm sick. Okay. So something that I do in order to tell if I get it or not is I actually sort of stand at an angle away from the campfire. You'll know when you have the trick when your character will turn to face the campfire, but then switch characters. So that meant I did it the right shoulder button too late. And that meant I did it too early. Oh, I actually had sleep storage for some reason. Interesting. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna have to kill two of these guys real quick because I wasn't supposed to go through there. Give me just a second. And I'll show you why we have to make sure these two things are dead. Yeah, that's one of the annoying things about this. But yeah, give me just 1 second. Sorry, I'm doing this like kind of live, unscripted. So, sue me. Oh, come on. Yeah, like I said, this jump's not easy. Even top level runners have trouble with it, so don't feel bad if you're having trouble with it. Come on, Caden. Be nice. There we go. Alright. So yeah, like I said, what you're looking for is you switch characters, and your character sort of pivots to the left to face the campfire. So you do Y and then RB, and you do the RB input just a tad after Y. So that was too late. That was also too late. Too late again, come on. Yeah, this will take some practice, but... Oh, I don't have Madeira. Give me 1 second. That's why it's not working. Yeah, you need to have Madeira to do this. Don't forget that part. Give me 1 second. Sorry. I was like, why isn't this trick working? It's like, I don't have the thing I need to make the trick work. I thought I got Madeira for a second without actually having gotten her. Give me 1 second. Sorry, this is so all over the place. There we go. Okay, now we should be able to do it, so... That was early. See how I didn't turn to face the campfire? That means I pressed RB too early. Early again. There you go. So you see how I kind of pivot over to the side? If I walk away now, you can see that the sleep button is the Y button says sleep, even though I'm standing nowhere near the campfire. And if you want to practice this repeatedly, you can just press the B button and it will cancel out of the glitch. So I'll show you a couple more times. I didn't even press the Y button there, lol. There's a good example. And there's another good example. Okay. So once you have this glitchy state activated, don't crouch slide off of any of these platforms, by the way, otherwise they'll cancel the glitch. What you want to do is run off this ledge, go right to where these moats are, and then hit Y and RB at the same time, and then mash RB. And so what that does is it takes the coordinates of where you slept and applies them to the spirit hub. So if we were to, excuse me, if we were just to wake up or like go to sleep normally, we'd end up where that bonfire was. But because we slept and mashed RB in a different location, it put us over here. All right, so now what we're gonna do is run forward to this other campfire here, and we're gonna do the same glitch again, where we press Y and then RB at that very tight timing. There we go. The big thing is you're going to be way more likely to want to press Y and R or B at the same time. So, like, I would, like, at first when you're learning it, is try to, like, over-exaggerate the space between Y and RB. To sort of get a feel for the timing. So, once you're in the spirit world and you want to set it up on this one, not the one over there, set it up on this one, you're going to run up the hill all the way to here, and we're going to do the same thing again, where we press Y and RB at the exact same time. This was not very precise at all, so just press it, and then you just mash RB. And then we just warp over to here. So now that door right there doesn't open until you've beaten all 3 of the other bosses in the game. So I'll go ahead and show you. There's this big old wall that normally keeps you from going to the end of the game until you've beaten all the other 3 dungeons. But that wrong warp we just did skipped it all entirely, which is pretty insane. But yeah. So when you initially warp into here, you'll be like right here and like in the sort of cross-legged seeing position. So make sure you press B. And then we're gonna run off this ledge and crouch slide, run again. And then you can go, this is one of the load zones where I recommend crouch sliding into, because having crouch storage will make some of the tricks here easier. Go ahead and pull open your torch, and we're going to go to the left through this cave system. So we're going to be taking a left, once you see the skeletons, left across this bridge with the moats, then through the hole and to the right. And so now once we're here, what I like to do, hold on, these guys are going to be a bully, is I like to jump on this black rock right here, and then you can jump to right here. And so then once you get stuck in this spot, you can jump to here, and then to here, and then if you put the torch away as you're falling down, you land right about here. Alright? So that was a whole lot. So I want to show you that at full speed to give you an idea of what that looks like. Those mudmen may troll you. Just be prepared for that and follow along to where I'm jumping to. Big thing is to try not to like hug the wall so you don't accidentally get jank applied to you. Alright, so we make our way through here. You can also just take a Hail Mary run over to that area, or jump off the Mudman as well, which is sometimes funnier, but he was a little too far away and I didn't sprint jump, so that one's on me. There's a couple of things you can do there to make it easier. Yeah, so let me show you that at full speed. So you got 1, 2... Oh god. Yep, didn't quite make it. That stinks. It's a little bit tricky. This is, like, semi-optional, so, like, if you don't want to do this, just take the... Well, actually, no, we skipped some puzzles doing this. Never mind, don't listen to me. I would recommend doing this trick. But it's not super bad once you get the hang of it. You may see me do a different strat in, like, a world record video. Don't go for that. It's really, really hard. So there you go, bit of a trip. That's the hardest jump, is getting into here. But then once you're here, just jump on these rocks. And then put away your torch as you're running off the rock, and you'll land without taking any damage. Alright, and then from here, we're just gonna go climbing up the vines. So these flower petals all have hitboxes, so you can just stand on top of all of them and jump them. You don't have to get Madeira out and activate them at all, which is really nice. And then I also recommend crouch sliding into here because it'll make a trick later in this session very, very easy. Or much easier, rather. Alright, this next trick is really free. You're just going to sprint straight forward to this warrior here and just jump on top of him, and you'll get right over the fence. Then, what you want to do is go to this ladder. And this is where I recommend setting up ISG again. because it'll make the final boss a lot faster. So go ahead and just, I've already shown you how to do it, so I'll just kind of speed through it here. It's the same thing as if you were doing it on vines. Just like that. And you can do 1 jump, 2 jump, 3 jumps to get up to here. 1, 2, 3. And then from here, you can actually jump on top of those flower petals, like this. But what you want to do is approach them from left to right, like this. So I go a little bit wide, right there, so that I actually get all the way up on top of it, because otherwise you might not clear the jump. So I approach it from its left side and then hug the wall. And then from here, just jump to each one in sequence. Oh, I fell off. Oh no. So I'll show you what that looks like at full speed to give you an idea. One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, and so on that last one, similar to the skip we did on the tree door, you want to go... Oop, I'm probably dead here. No, I'm not dead. Sweet. Let me set up ISG one more time. Sorry. So out and in, like that. And then on this last one, because there's a little ceiling here, you want to walk away from the wall a little bit, and then you can jump on the lip of it, and then you just do a sprint jump to this one over here. Now right here, go ahead and equip a sword as you're turning away from him. Like I mentioned a while ago, those enemies with shields, if the shield collides with your orange glowing hammer hitbox, it turns off the glitch. So make sure that you, like, be extra careful to avoid him. Alright, now we're going into mountain camp. This is probably the, aside from the wrong warping trick that I showed you how to do, the frame perfect sleep storage, this is probably the other, like, really hard trick in the run. But don't be too discouraged. At the very least, it's a really cool looking trick, so it'll be kind of fun to practice. So like I said, make sure you have your sword equipped, because if you take fall damage, and you have, like, the weapon equipped, you'll lose ISG, and it's really annoying to recover. Okay, so what you want to do is, from where you enter, you want to go to the right, and head towards these rocks on the wall. And then you're going to jump up the left side to climb on top. Kind of like this. And then you're going to get on top of the highest most rock. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get a running sprint going and hold up and right into the wall at a shallow angle. And then once we get towards the end of this sort of flat stretch of wall before that corner where it changes to the left, we're going to input a jump and hold up and to the left-ish. And if we do that right, we actually land on those some of those wooden spikes that are poking out of the side of the wall and skip blustering edge entirely. So that looks like this. Yeah, so you see how I landed on that? That's what you're looking for. So again, jump on the left side, get up here. Sprint, jump. As soon as you start to see yourself falling, just jump. And then hold up into the left. And then you'll land down here. And then you can jump out from underneath and get on top. So yeah, like I said, this one's really tricky because we're doing another jank boost here. So because we're wall running, it's going to push us like more so towards that cauldron over there. But what we want to do is hold more towards up and up to the left so that we sort of resist some of that force and land on those wooden spikes underneath. So let me give you a couple more examples that you can look at. Just like that. I'll do one more. See, I'm almost kind of holding like more up even than up and to the left. Like, that's kind of what you want to look for. It's also slightly camera angle dependent, so keep that in mind as well. But yeah, once you're here, again, you just kind of walk out from underneath and jump, and then you get up on here. So there is a skip you can do for this next, like a little arena bit inside here. I do not recommend learning it at first, so I'm actually going to avoid showing you it, because it only saves like at most 10 seconds. So if you see me do that in a world record before, don't go for it. So yeah, just walk into this arena and mash X. And so this guy's got a shield, so you gotta be a bit careful. So what I actually like to do is like try to jump, like as if I'm trying to jump on top of his head like we did with that skip earlier. Kind of like this. And then try to hit him with my sort of tail hitbox. You just want to make sure that you do not collide with the shield at all. There we go. So now he's dead. Sometimes this happens. If this animation ever happens to you where you get stuck like this after using your infinite sword glitch, do not crouch slide. Okay? Don't. It will soft lock you. So once you've done that, just make your way through, and you can do a torch cancel, or a torch walk as you go through here. And now we're making our way to the final boss. We're pretty much at the end of the game now. You can go ahead and crouch slide into this cutscene if you want. Just mash Y through all of this text. We're actually going to be fighting the Emperor here instead of Nyona. Nyona is a bit slower, and I find the Emperor fight to also just be easier. Doing Emperor is about 30 to 35 seconds faster optimally. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and, if you want to, I guess you can pick this up, but just go ahead and run up to him and then, like, turn around. And then you're going to kind of come over to the left and just chill out here. Now, what I like to do a lot during this boss fight is keep my eye on the Emperor at all times. So if he's doing, like, the jump attack with, like, the AoE splash damage on the ground, then I'm ready to jump over it. But the crystals that spawn are always going to spawn in the same spots every time. So you want to start towards, like, the back and left of the arena. And you'll start to see them come out of the ground when you see the Z-target reticle on them. And then we're just going to do the same kind of thing, where we're just sort of rotating in place next to him to deal a bunch of damage. So yeah, I kind of like to stay towards that same spot where we were when we started, which is sort of this up and to the left area, and then I'm keeping my eye on him at all times, so that when he does that attack, I can jump around it. And then you just go around through the crystals in clockwise order. And you can do like a basically full 360 on them to instantly break them. Just like that. And then I always just tend to try to stay in the same spot. And sort of keep them right about this left side of the arena. 2. And you'll see kind of those things come out of the ground, those little mud splotches. So that's your visual cue to know when they're gonna come. And then timing for this for the game ends on the final hit to the boss. So as soon as you see it like swap over, I didn't quite get it because I was trying to like call out when you time it because I'm dumb. But if you don't get like a 3 cycle, that's okay. Just do the boss. Just don't die. That's the big thing. Yeah, see how I'm keeping my eye on him so I know exactly where he's going to attack me? And then you're doing these kind of really quick rotations in order to hit the crystals with your... you may find it easier to, like... The reason you... that would be time, right there. Ooh, interesting camera. So yeah, that would be the end of the speedrun. But yeah, make sure that you, like, even though you might be tempted to, keep your hammer unequipped and keep your sword equipped. Because you really don't want to lose the infinite sword glitch, because it makes the fight so much faster. But yeah, there you go. That is how you speedrun Warden Melody of the Undergrowth. I hope this was helpful to you. Like I said, timing is as soon as you deal the final blow, so just as soon as you see it, just press the button to stop the timer. Yeah, if you have any further questions, the Discord link is in the video description. Hit one of us up from there. Thanks, everybody.